Welcome back to the Daily Move. Today we're talking all about whiplash and also just how people feel after a motor vehicle accident. Obviously, our bodies aren't designed to have that kind of impact. And whenever we are in a motor vehicle accident, it does create a lot of strain in our system. Unfortunately, right now, with all the chiropractors, massage therapists, and physios not working currently, we're kind of having to help ourselves at home. And this is what this video is to help guide you with that. Make sure to go at your own pace. If anything is bothering you or creating pain, stop it immediately. This is not meant to fix or treat anything, but it's meant to just help you feel better in the meantime. What you're going to need is some kind of secure step that you feel that you can actually drop your heels off of. It does help to have like a railing or something to support yourself on, but although that's not necessary. And I would also grab a towel or a yoga mat that you can roll up. And then you can also have a door frame because we'll be doing a pec stretch. So that's what you'll need for today's video. Go grab what you need and let's get started. So we're going to start out with a heel drop. This is not meant to stretch your calf. What we're doing here is we're standing in the stairwell for about 3 minutes here, allowing those heels to drop. This heel drop is actually going to help settle our pelvis. So if our pelvis is off at all, it's going to change the entire alignment of our body, which is going to create stress and strain. So what I'm doing here is allowing my heels to drop down to the ground. I'm tucking my pelvis under ever so slightly, and then I'm leaning my body forward. We have 3 minutes here. So as we're nearing our 3 minutes here, we can step off the step and we're gonna head back down to the floor. This is when you're gonna need that rolled up towel or that rolled up yoga mat. And we're gonna place it right under those pokey hip bones. So the pokey hip bones, if you were to measure that and bring it straight down, you're gonna hit the peak of your roll. So we're gonna settle in here, and what we're gonna do is some pelvic tilting here. Now we want this motion to come from our stomach and back muscles, not from our legs. So it's very easy to press into the legs in order to create that movement out of the pelvis, but what we're trying to do is actually squeeze our abs to almost do like a reverse tuck crunch in order for our hips to then move up off the roll. And then you're going to sink and just allow your hip bone to fall over top of that roll, creating that arch. You want to do this quite slowly. And we're aiming for 3 to 5 repetitions here, going nice and slow, working on that pelvic rotation with that anterior posterior tilt. So once you've done between 3 to 5 repetitions, you're going to keep those abs contracted so that your pelvis is lifted off, creating that tilt. And what you're going to do is very small motions, allow the knees to tick-tock from one side to the other. Going really slow, starting small, and gradually we're going to go larger and larger with that lower back twist. Again, if this causes any pain or discomfort, either shorten the range or stop the exercise. You'll notice that my knees and heels are not touching, they're still hip distance apart. So next you're going to remove that roll by lifting up your hips and just setting it aside. And now we're going to create a full twist here. So I'm allowing both my legs to fall to one side. My arms are out in a T position, and I'm twisting my spine here. You can add a little bit more by also rotating your neck in the opposite direction that the knees went for a full twist. You want to hang out on one side between 5 to 15 seconds before slowly bringing the knees back into the chest and switching sides. So just moving at your own pace here. Sometimes it feels better to go a little bit quicker. Sometimes it feels better to have those longer holds and just breathe into the twist. So before we roll onto our stomach here, you're gonna go onto your side and then make your way so that you're laying stomach down onto the ground. We're gonna create a strengthening exercise here where our opposite arm, opposite leg are being pressed away from each other, but also up towards the ceiling, creating a little bit of strength on the back side of our body. We're not going for amount of range. We're not trying to go into a full extension with the body here. What we're really trying to do is almost a tug-of-war match, separating our foot from our arm and pressing away from our body and a little bit up towards the ceiling. So here I'm holding between 3 to 5 seconds on each side. Again, depending on how you're feeling, you can hold it for longer or you can make that transition a little bit quicker, just depending on what feels right. Moving on here, we're gonna go into a blackbird position. And what that means is you're still laying on your stomach, you're reaching your arms over top of your head, and then creating a circle, bringing your arms down towards your glutes. And then with your palm facing the ceiling, you're going to bring it up as high as you can on your back. That feels appropriate into the shoulders. Find a spot to allow your hands to rest, and now let your elbows sink down towards the floor. You're gonna feel a stretch into the front part of the shoulder there. Hang out here for a few seconds to get the benefit of that stretch before you repeat that. So bringing the arms out to a straight position down by the hips, creating a circle so that your arm reaches over top of your head. And then you're gonna come back down so that your arm comes down towards the hip. Bending that elbow, palm facing the ceiling, you're gonna see how high up your back you can bring that arm up without creating pain. And now allow the elbow and the shoulder to sink down towards the floor, feeling a nice stretch onto the front part of that shoulder. You can repeat this anywhere from 3 to 6 times. And going at a pace that feels good. I like to hang out with my elbows down and sinking the shoulders a little bit longer because I feel like that's where my shoulders get to relax the most. So next we're going to move into a cat-cow, and I'm going to give you 2 options here. You can do one where you're putting weight into the wrists, and if that doesn't feel right, we're also going to do one where we're sitting on our butt. So we're creating a gentle cat-cow here. It's up to you if you want to get the neck involved or just keep it in the back. But what we're doing here is we're flexing and extending the spine, letting the spine reach towards the ceiling, and then sinking down. Just getting some mobility into the spine here. Now we're going for 5 to 8 repetitions here, but if the cat-cow on the hands, the knees does not feel right, here's the modification. So you're sitting down here, creating that cat-cow motion again, rounding the spine, and then sitting up nice and tall. Now you can hug onto the knees or pull the knees in order to emphasize that stretch, but you don't need to. The most important thing is that we're getting some motion into the spine here. So either doing the 5 to 8 repetitions on your hands and knees or seated, whatever feels right. So next we're going to go into a bird dog crunch here. So you can see I'm extending my hand and my foot away from each other, and then I'm crunching my spine to bring my knee towards my elbow. Now, if this does not feel right, the second option here is doing a dead bug variation on your back. So laying on your back, you're gonna flatten it, bringing both knees up, having my arms up. I'm actually gonna crisscross my hands so my right arm touches my left knee and vice versa. And I'm pressing into that, having my abs engaged, and then slowly allowing the opposite arm, opposite leg to drift away as long as you can control the abs here. So you don't have to do a very large motion here. I'd rather you do a very small motion or even just stay there pressing both feet into your arms, then allowing that back to arch upwards. So whether you're doing the bird dog or you're doing the dead bug variation, you want to do 5 to 6 repetitions per side. So next we're going to stand up here and we're going to do a forward roll down. So I'm tucking my chin down and I'm slowly making my way down towards the floor here. Hanging out here for a second, let that head go heavy. If you want, you can do some yes and no nods, or you can just hang out. You're going to slowly unravel, coming back to a standing position. Arms go overhead. You're going to reach to the ceiling and then create a side bend, feeling a stretch on the side that's getting longer. And then now we're going to repeat that to the opposite side. Both my feet staying grounded as I push that hip away. And then I'm going to go back to that rounding down towards the floor, tucking the chin, feeling really heavy, and allowing gravity to do the work here, and just softening the body into that rounding down. When you get down to the bottom, hang out there for a few seconds, let that head go heavy before slowly returning back to standing. We're going to do that side bend again, but this time we're going to start with the opposite side first. And now to the other side. So in today's video, we're cycling through this 3 times, but if you feel like you need some more, you can pause the video and keep going. So as I'm tucking my chin here, I'm trying to really lengthen my spine, feeling a stretch from vertebrae to vertebrae as I slowly make my way down to the floor. Again, you can hang out here. You can do yes and no's with the neck. Finishing off with another side bend. Switching sides. So we're going to head to the floor next, and you're going to need that rolled up towel or yoga mat. We're going to be side lying on this, and the way that you want to position it is you want this between where your ribs end and where your shoulder blade begins. So in the middle of that, you're side lying, your bottom leg is straight, your bottom leg is bent, and you want to hook your foot over where the calf is. And then the next important part is making sure that your neck feels supported here. We're going to create a side bend of the torso here. So your side body is side bending. You're bringing your rib cage closer to your hip bone. And then you're taking that upper arm and reaching up towards the ceiling, creating that side bend. And then when you relax down, you're creating a side bend in the opposite direction. Just is really important here that your neck doesn't feel like it has to work to be here. So use that opposite arm to create that support. You want to do between 6 to 8 repetitions here before switching sides. So again, bottom leg is straight, top one is bent, and you want to hook your shoelaces behind your calf muscle. You don't want it to be out in front. And then what you're doing is you're bringing that rib cage up towards that hip bone. Now you can keep that upper arm straight up towards the ceiling if that feels good. If you feel like you need the extra support, you can take that top hand down between repetitions to support that neck. So next we're going to go into a kneeling hip flexor stretch. So I'm using that rolled up towel or rolled up yoga mat for support underneath my knee. You're tucking the pelvis under, leaning forward, feeling a stretch in the hip flexor. And if you need an added stretch, take the arm that's opposite of the knee that's in front, up towards the ceiling and slightly side bending towards that front knee. If that's too much on the shoulder or the neck, or you feel like it doesn't really add value to that stretch, you can keep your arms down as you hold this stretch. So again, you can hold these stretches for longer than what we're showing in this video. So next, what we're gonna do here is a balancing drill. So we wanna keep the hips completely level as we bring the leg up. And then once you feel like you got the balance there, you're gonna keep that leg there. You're gonna take your arms up, you're gonna cross them and then go straight out to a T. Cross them again, reach up towards the ceiling. So what's important about this is just getting your core strength to keep those hips level. And can you keep everything solid while you allow the arms to move? So next we're gonna sit down. And what we're doing here is your hand is out at a 90-degree angle there, and your palm's facing the ceiling. You're gonna bring the palm towards your ear like you're cradling your neck, side bending it so that your ear falls into your hand. And then as you side bend your body away, you're going to take your arm, straighten out the elbow. And I call this the Spider-Man arm. So your wrist is being flexed down as if you're shooting a web, and you're trying to push that arm away from your body as you perform that. You want to repeat this 5 to 6 times before switching sides, and making sure that the neck is doing a side bending motion with no rotation. So it is your ear that's falling down towards that opposite shoulder, and then the ear that's falling into that palm. It's really important that that arm is being very actively pushing away, shooting those webs out from the palm of your hand. If you feel like your fingers need to curl, it just means that it's really tight. Just reduce the range to what you can do without having to cheat with those arms curling or without your elbow curling. So next, what you're gonna do is sitting still, you're gonna put your finger onto your chin. You're gonna rest your hands onto your chest bone, and then you're doing a chin tuck. So you're trying to pull your chin away from your finger and then come back to center. Just be mindful as you're doing this exercise that you're not moving that finger away for your marker. It should be in the same target spot. We're gonna perform between 3 to 5 repetitions there. And now we're going into a neck stretch. So you're taking one arm and you want to anchor it underneath your thigh, and then you're going to slowly bring your ear away from that hand, using the opposite arm to slowly guide it. Now you can stay here in the stretch, or you can do what I'm doing here, where I'm creating a slight rotation of the neck. So you can see I'm looking up and then looking down in towards that armpit area. You'll notice that it hits different areas in that stretch. Again, this should not cause you pain. It should just feel like a nice stretch. So we're moving here on to the opposite side. Same thing, you're gonna take that arm, tuck it underneath your thigh. That's gonna depress that shoulder on that same side. And then you're going to move your neck away by allowing that ear to fall to the opposite shoulder. And you can use that arm as a little bit of a guide. I'm kind of pulling my head away from my spine and then creating that rotation. You should never be reefing on your neck here, just gently guiding it. So next we're gonna stretch out the pecs. So if you're in a chair here and you've got the range in the knees, you're gonna slide your hip bones off the chair, opening up that chest and sliding away. You should feel this stretch in the front of your chest muscles where the pectorals are. And I'm going to give you a few different options here if this doesn't feel right. Not everyone's going to have that kind of mobility in the knees in order to get down there. So you can find a wall space and have your arm there. You're going to reach back and then rotate your body away to feel a stretch into the chest. You can also do a double chest stretch by going into a doorway and doing both arms at the same time. Whatever feels best. You can also do this in the corner of the wall, which I did not show in this video, but if you're facing into a corner, both arms are up, kind of like a cactus pose, just like they are right now. And then you're pushing your chest towards that corner of the wall. So next we're gonna move back to our chair. And what we're doing is our arm is down by our side. You've created a fist and we're creating internal external rotation of the arm bone. As you turn in, you do want to flex the wrist inwards, and then you're going to bring the ear down towards the arm that's moving. As you create external rotation, as you're turning that arm outwards and still flexing that wrist backwards, then you're going to move the ear away from it. The entire time you should be taking your arm and reaching down towards the floor. That's how you're going to increase that stretch. And again, no rotation with the neck here. It's a pure side bend. Letting that ear fall towards the arm that you're working and then falling away as you create external rotation. Making sure that the wrist is flexed backwards when you're away. And as you're creating internal rotation, you're flexing the wrist inwards. So the palm should be closer to your forearm. So next your arm is at a 45-degree angle, and then you're going to depress the shoulder, so set it down. Elbow is nice and straight, and we're just working the wrist here. So fingers are flat, and the only thing that's actually moving here is at that wrist joint. So you're fully flexing, fully extending the wrist. And again, you don't have to go as fast as I'm showing here on the video. You can slow it down. Once this feels good, this is the second variation here where we're making that horizontal adduction with the arms. So now the arm is in front of you. You're going to flex the wrist forward as you allow the arm to go across your body, and then you're going to flex it backwards as you bring it back, contracting or squeezing that shoulder blade at that end range. So I would pick one or the other variation to do. The one that I'm doing right now is the easier version, and then the harder version is allowing it to move. As this is moving, your elbow is not allowed to bend, so my arm is completely straight with this. And whether you're doing the first variation or the second one, I would do between 5 to 8 repetitions. So now your arm is straight out at 90 degrees here, palm facing the ceiling. You're dropping your ear down and then doing a slight rotation just to feel a stretch into the neck. You'll know when you find it because you'll feel the stretch. Once you're there, you're going to create flexion extension of the wrist. Same thing, making sure that you're not bending the fingers. And again, performing between 5 to 8 repetitions here. So next I have my hand on my collarbone. The collarbone that you're holding down, you're going to then move your neck away and rotate so that your chin goes towards the ceiling. You're gonna feel a big stretch into the front part of the neck here. Slowly come back to center, repeat that on the opposite side. So I'm pulling my collarbone down with my hand, letting my ear fall away from it, but also bringing my chin up towards the ceiling. You can even push your chin forward a little bit just to feel that stretch into the front part of the neck. So you can repeat this 2 to 3 times per side. So next we're going to do a traction pull with our hands. So as we're tucking our chin here, you're actually taking your hands and kind of pulling your head off your spine as you tuck your chin. You may feel a stretch all the way down to the tailbone with this. When you're coming back up, you're going to look up towards the ceiling, support your neck, look up towards the ceiling, creating that extension into the spine before you repeat tucking that chin, bringing the base of your skull up towards the ceiling as you bring that down. Nothing with this should be forced. It should be very gentle. So next we're going to do some rotation. Just be careful that your knee doesn't pull away there like what I was showing. Your knee should always be in line as you're creating a spinal twist. So I'm using my arm against my thigh to help with that rotation. As you breathe in, you're gonna go into that twist. As you breathe out, you're going to relax. So I breathe in, rotate back, breathe out, come back to center. So I'm moving with my natural breath here. Performing anywhere between 3 to 5 repetitions here. You'll notice the more that you do, the more range you're going to get here. Never forcing anything where you may create a back crack, but we're not trying to force that crack. So once we've done this, both arms are straight down towards the floor and I'm pushing my palms down towards the ground as I create rotation of the neck. So I'm turning to look over the shoulder. If you want an added stretch, once you find that end rotation, you can continue with your eyeballs, continuing to look. There has been studies showing that that will actually continue to stretch the fascia tissue. So it's actually important to get the eyes involved with that. Now you'll notice here as I'm creating the rotation of my neck, there's no involvement of my shoulders. So just be mindful of that. It's easy when we're restricted in neck range to want to pull the shoulders into it. So you can perform anywhere from 3 to 5 neck rotations here, whatever feels good. We don't want to overdo it either. You can always split this video up. So you can pick maybe 4 or 5 exercises to do per day instead of doing the entire series. So next we've got our shoulders. So our shoulders elevate, depress, retract, and protract. And so we're going to get all 4 motions involved in a shoulder circle. Just getting this mobile. At the end of this video, I show a more advanced way of doing this, but for right now, we just want to get some motion into it. So you can create some traction with a towel. You want to just put the towel around your neck, and all of this should be very gentle motions. So here's the skull. The skull stops here, and then it goes into our vertebrae, into our neck. So you want to take the towel, scoot it up so that it's just in the base there. It's kind of cradling that. And what you're doing is you're lifting up the skull off of the spine here using your arms, and then just slightly tuck the chin. So I'm holding this up and I'm slightly tucking the chin, and then I'm looking up. So I'm kind of cradling where the base of the skull is there, and then slightly looking up, slightly looking down. You want to perform this 3 to 5 times. So similar concept, you're cradling it again. I'm pulling it up, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this arm here and I'm going to start side bending, bringing that ear closer to the other side, coming back to center, doing the same thing. Make sure your chin is slightly tucked for this. And you want to go again 3 to 5 per side. And you can hang out here too if it feels good to stretch. And then we can go into that tuck and extension. Just trying to figure out where it feels good to stretch it out. So to create rotation, you're gonna cross your hands over. The top arm is the one that's gonna create the pull. This one here is just staying down. So I'm covering my ear here and my cheek. And what I'm doing is I'm side bending and creating that rotation, feeling a big stretch right here. Again, never forcing anything, going very gentle. I find the more that I take this shoulder and kind of depress it downwards, the deeper stretch I get. And then we're gonna switch sides. So again, I'm crossing my cheek and my ear. I'm looking up to the ceiling and then creating a side bend. And again, we're aiming for a stretch right here. Make sure when you come back out, you're going equally as gentle with that as well. So next we're gonna do some self-massage into the back here. So we're gonna turn around, find the skull here, and then what we're doing is we're pushing into the vertebrae here, just doing a little bit of a self-massage. Going up into the skull, and coming back down. You can go all the way down to where your neck meets your rib cage. This is gonna get more into the trap. Now, because this is a bulkier muscle, what I like to do is actually cross one hand over and then dig one finger in and kind of pull around. So what you can see is I'm taking my arm here and I'm pulling down, or I'm pushing my elbow back in order to put a little bit more pressure into that spot. And you can dig around the shoulder blade there, kind of hooking your finger and pulling it up. You can go more into the trap. So here's that more advanced shoulder roll. Only do this when you're ready, because if you do it when you're not ready, it's actually going to create more tension into the shoulder and neck, which is what we just spent all that time just doing. But you can see here, I'm creating that rotation of the scapula there, and then I'm just changing where my arms are. So my arms are basically going more and more up into flexion here, seeing if I can create that shoulder rotation as I perform that. And again, if you're not ready for this, you will feel that tension kind of creep up and your neck will get tighter. So only do this when you're ready, but I wanted to throw a more advanced option out there because some of you are going to get to that point. And you don't want to worry, or don't forget about humeral extension too. So you can see my arms were down behind my back as well. And now I'm working through this again. Now with a backward roll with the shoulders instead of the forward roll, just changing every time with the arm position there as I create those rotations. Another good one too is just creating internal external rotation of that arm bone. As you can see, same thing, I'm going into a bunch of different positions. Now I'm staying in one plane of motion, but you could actually go in front of your body, behind your body, playing with this motion. Now you'll see here, all of a sudden I switched, so I was going in opposite directions, corkscrewing the arms. Same thing, you can play with a bunch of different limb positions. And lastly, what I get into here is just a full arm shoulder rotation here, going forward and backwards. And you'll see from the side, when I hit the center, I rotate my arm before I finish up that range. Just going back and forth. Again, do this when you're feeling a lot better. If you're still in pain, just avoid this exercise for right now. So let me know if you found this helpful. It's kind of full body, just so that all the soft tissue stuff that may have been hurt in that car accident, that we were able to address all of that. I'm very open to feedback, so let me know what's helping you guys and what you guys still need in an exercise video like this. I'm happy to make whatever you need so that you can feel better. Have an excellent day, guys. Bye.